I think I heard you mention that what we're seeing now is this silent plague, where we thought when the plague would come, people would be coughing up on the streets and dropping dead. But instead, it's this silent one where our kids are autistic and all of these things are happening. We can't even see it happening. We don't even know it's happening to a certain extent. Did I understand the point you were making correctly?
Absolutely right. I mean, I read a book called The Coming Plague, and it predicted just that there would be people coming out in black boils and falling down in the street and bleeding from every orifice and dying in their millions. And that was the way it was going to come. But no, the plague has come. The plague is here. The plague is one of neurodevelopmental disorders, amongst other things, in children. There is a huge prevalence of these conditions now. I mean, even medicine presents you with the sharp end first. So you see the worst cases, the autism, the kids banging their heads and lost potty training and just falling apart, rashes and fevers and unable to speak. Medicine presents you with those cases first. But what if you just shaved 9 points off the IQ of every child in the country? How long would it take you to identify that? And that is what Needleman did with the detection of lead poisoning. It was that it had an impact upon IQ. But it took him 20 years to get that understood. We now widely recognize that lead is toxic and it's out of paint and petroleum and so forth. But if what we're now seeing in schools, and particularly in America, is that the IQ is falling, that the pass rates for the state exams and for the federal exams is falling and falling and falling, such that they're having to readjust the pass mark to get the same number of children passing. And it's boys who are most impacted. And I saw this at my son's university. We went there for the graduation, and there on the stage were the valedictorians. And they were all girls but one. All girls. This did not reflect the intake of the university, of the college. But there they were. Girls are protected from the neurotoxic effects of many of these things, whereas boys seem to be exquisitely sensitive. And so we are having a sex-related effect upon children's well-being, their ability to thrive, their IQs, and boys are being disproportionately affected. And this tells us that it's an organic basis, that there is something organic to this. Otherwise, we would see it pervasively across the population if it was, for example, just bad teaching. But it isn't. So we really need to wake up to this, because we're looking at the tip of the iceberg with conditions such as autism. Below the waterline is something far more insidious and far more pervasive for the rest of the world.
Are you convinced that the rise in autism is directly related to the vaccines?
Yes, as I say, what convinced me was the need for the CDC to commit fraud in order for that to become public knowledge.
Okay, so the fact that they were willing to cover that up convinced you, because otherwise, why would they? So they knew.
They had to take huge risks,
right?
Huge risks, exposure, to cover that up. They could not let it happen, and that's very sad.